Hi, this is John Cressman with monkeyuncle.com, and this is our GameSalad vertical shooter tutorial, episode 7. If you haven't gone through the other episodes, I recommend that you start from the beginning and go all the way to where we are now. If you want to just hop in where we are, you can download the project file from monkeyuncle.com. Today we're going to be adding some lives and scoring mechanisms to the game, as well as an explosion or two. So to show you what we have so far, actually let's go ahead and go back to home, hit preview. We have our menu, we hit start game, we can move with the cursor or the on controls, we can fire with our lasers. We have two different enemies that are being spawned. When we shoot them, they disappear. That's about it. If we get hit once by the laser or the enemy, the game is over. We move to this end screen. So let's go ahead and add some additional mechanisms. And the best way to do that is we're going to go to Game and Attribute. We're going to add two integers. I'm going to call this first one Score, and the second one Lives. Now those will both start at 0, which means we need to set them. We're going to actually do that in the menu button. Okay, so when they click on the menu button to start game, right now it switches to the play scene, which starts the game. So before they start the game, we're going to assume that they are starting from scratch because we don't have any continue or anything in there yet. We're just going to come over here, we're going to change attribute, and we're going to change score to 0. So we're going to reset their score to 0, and then we're going to set their lives to 3. So whenever they start a new game, by clicking start game, it's going to set the score back to 0, and it's going to set their lives to 3. Now I've already saved this as Vertical Shooter 7, but if you're following along from the previous episode, go ahead and save it now as Vertical Shooter 7. And remember, save often. Alright, so now we've got our attributes and we're ready to create some new actors. So the first one we're going to do is create an actor called HUD, just like our on-screen controls, HUD score. Okay. The second actor we're going to call Player Explosion. Now again, we're going to start doing some shortcuts here. So I'm going to go into HUD score. I'm going to change the color to green so that I can tell where it is on the screen. But of course, we don't actually want this box being displayed, so like some of our other things, we're going to come in here and we're going to do a HUD score color alpha is 0, so that's going to be invisible. Now unlike our menu button that we just edited, which we kept as blue, this will be transparent. However, the display text will display regardless of the color of the actual actor. So we're going to display text. Now this is going to be the score. So I'm going to go ahead and change the color to yellow so it displays yellow. I'm going to change the text. We're actually going to click over here and we're going to, in quotes, we're going to put quote score colon. Now you have to use the Alt or Option space to put a space there. In quote dot dot, which is a way of concatenating two bits of information. It's basically saying display this and this dot dot, it's like and then whatever follows. So in this case, we're going to actually display an attribute and we're going to display the score. So what it will display is score space and then whatever the actual value is of this score. It'll start off with 0 and then increment as we destroy things. All right, so now let's go ahead and file, save, and let's go back. And now we're going to use a little shortcut. We're going to do an Alt or Option and drag to duplicate this. I'm going to change this to HUD, this new actor, to HUD lives. I'm going to come into it. We're going to leave everything the same except for what's being displayed. We're going to change score to lives. You can actually backspace to get rid of the score. Come into here, game, lives. So this will do the exact same thing, only it will display the lives. Alright. So let's go ahead and go to home. I'm going to do a file and save. We're going to go to scenes, play, and now we're going to go to our actors and we're going to drag them on the screen. So we're going to put the score first, and I'm just going to move it so it's about 40% of the screen. And now we're going to do the lives. So basically we're going to have the score over here and the lives over here. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to home, preview, here's the start game. Now remember, when we click it, it's going to set the score to 0 and the lives to 3. There we go, score 0, lives 3. And of course, I died the first time I got hit. That's because we don't have any logic to take care of any of that. So let's go into the player explosion. Now for this, I recommend that you go up to Kenny.nl and download his smoke particles assets. Okay, download those, put them on your desktop or wherever you want, and we're actually going to use explosion 000. Okay, just drag it into the image. Now it's actually quite large, it's like 500 by something. We don't need it that large. We're actually going to start it at 50 by 55. Okay, so it still looks like a good aspect ratio, but we're going to start it really small. And the reason is that we, unfortunately, even though these are explosions, they're not really animated explosions. So we're going to have to animate it ourselves. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to choose an interpolate behavior, and that changes a value from whatever its current state is to a different state. So what we're going to do is we're going to change player explosion color alpha to 0. But we're going to do it, now this is the player explosion, so we're going to do it over 1 second. It's a little bit longer explosion than we're going to do for the enemy's explosion. Right? So we'll see this explosion very vibrantly in the beginning, and then it will fade out over 1 second. But a small explosion like this, we want to give it a little bit of animation. Explosion explodes outward, so we're going to change the size. So you can use the change size, and the growth rate we're going to set at 20. You can play around with different values. I just am choosing 20 because I like the way that looked. All right, and now, so basically over 1 second we're going to have it go from full color to transparent, and we're going to have it grow from its start of 50 to a factor of 20. So now we're going to create a rule, and we're going to put this rule inside of a timer. Again, there are different ways to do the timer. I'm going to do it this way for ease of use. So after 1 second, because that's how long it's going to take for this to disappear, we're going to do something. Okay? And we're going to do something based on, so when attribute game lives is greater than 0, meaning we have at least 1 life left, we're going to spawn a player. Now we're going to change relative to scene, and we're going to change the spawn x to self position xy, and the vertical to self position y. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to spawn the explosion exactly where the player is, then we're going to spawn the new player exactly where the explosion is. All right. However, if it's not greater than 0, meaning we have 0 lives left, then we're going to do what we were doing before, and that is we're going to change the scene, because that means they have no more lives. We're going to change the scene to the end. So we're going to make it go from full visibility to transparent in a second. We're going to make it get bigger, and then after 1 second, if they have some lives left, we're going to spawn a new player. If they don't, we're going to end the game. So basically, instead of just ending immediately, we'll see an explosion and then we end. So again, let's save this. Now right now, of course, that explosion's not doing anything. So we have to come in here. Now we have 2 places that we have to change it. But like I said, we're going to use shortcuts where we can. So this is when it collides with an enemy laser. This is when it collides with enemies. So instead of having 2 rules, we're going to put both these rules because it's exactly the same thing. So when any rule, so now we're going to move whatever the rule is here up here. So when it touches or collides with an actor of type enemy laser, or any, or it collides with something with a tag of enemies, then it's going to do our new behavior. So we can get rid of this old rule, we don't need it. So what we're going to do now, when we get hit, the first thing we're going to do, we've gotten hit, our little ship's got destroyed, so we're going to change attribute game lives to game lives -1. So we've just reduced it by 1 because we got hit. Now of course we need to show our explosion, and that is a spawn actor behavior. So we're going to spawn player explosion, and we're going to, as I said before, we're going to put it exactly where the player is. Position Y. It's going to be in front of the actor, and of course it's relative to the screen, so that's exactly where the actor is. Now we've done that. Actually, you know, let's put this in back of the actor, because that way it'll kind of look like the ship is exploding. And of course, we don't want the ship anymore, so we need to destroy it. So what's going to happen is, when we hit an enemy or we hit an enemy laser, we reduce our lives by 1, we spawn an explosion, and then we destroy this actor. So let's see how that works. Let's go back to home, preview, start game. Here comes a ship. Oh, I just got hit. Oh, and see the explosion? That looks pretty good, doesn't it? And of course we get hurt the 3rd time and we're gone. Alright, so now we need to do the same thing for the enemies, and using our shortcut we're going to duplicate the player explosion, and we're going to call this enemy explosion. Enemy explosion is going to be slightly different. Okay. We're going to, and I just realized something I forgot. Let's go back into player explosion. Remember how we're doing the spawn actor or change scene? When we do the spawn actor, one thing we're not doing is we're not destroying ourselves. After we spawn the player, we want to destroy ourselves. Otherwise, we have a bunch of invisible explosions. Now, not a bunch, but you'll have 3. Now with the enemies, you would have a lot more because there's multiple enemies. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change this explosion duration to 0.5. So this is going to be, we're going to make it smaller. Growth factor of 10. The interpolate to transparent is going to be only half a second. Change size is 10. And then after that half second, we're simply going to destroy ourselves. And that's all this enemy explosion is going to do. Okay. Let's go ahead and file save. Alright, so now we need to add that actor or that behavior to the enemy. So again, we can combine these when any of these conditions are true. So when actually we can just do that when we hit a player laser or we hit a player. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this old actor. So when we hit either of these, we're going to spawn an explosion. We're going to destroy ourselves. But we've just the player's just destroyed this enemy, so he should get credit. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the score. Now remember, this one doesn't fire, so it's easier to kill, I think. So we're going to say game score is equal to game score plus 10. It could be any number, you could be 1. So we're going to add some score, then we're going to spawn an enemy explosion relative to scene in back of actor. Position, of course, is going to be enemy position X, because we want it to be exactly where the enemy was. Enemy position Y. So we come in here, we add 10 to the score, we spawn an enemy explosion in back of the actor relative to the scene at the current enemy's position X, position Y, then we destroy this enemy. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and file and save this. Go back to home. We're going to open enemy 2. Now we're not going to touch the fire phasers, but we will go up here and we're going to add player laser. We can go ahead and get rid of this one. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do that for our score. Since we're here, we're going to add the destroy. We're going to scroll down and add the spawn actor. So we're going to spawn the enemy explosion. Position X. Actually, did double click on that. Position X. And enemy position Y. Just like in the other one, we're going to put back of layer, back of actor, and relative to the scene. And we're going to change the game score. Remember, this one's a little bit harder because he fires, so you got the time when you shoot him. Game score plus 25. So 2.5 times as much as the other one. And of course, now it's going to destroy itself after it does these things. So now, save, start game, and we're going to test out. And it's not working. So why isn't it working? Well, one just worked. But that one's not working. So why isn't it working? Well, let's go back and check. So we have our conditions, and we have our things. So what do you think went wrong? Notice here that I said when all conditions are valid. That means it has to overlap with the player laser and the player at the same time. So just like we did in the other one, we're going to change this to any. And that means when any of these conditions are met. So any one condition is met and the whole thing is true. If you do an all of these have to be met. So then once again, let's change this to any. And now we go back. There's our explosion. Oh, and there's that explosion. Now notice that we are adding points here. Now we're going to let it kill us. Our lives went down by 1. And now our game is over. It's a pretty hard game. And that is episode 7. We've now added lives and scoring. So stay tuned for part 8, and we'll be adding a scrolling space background and maybe some other niceties. Alright, and my name again is John Cressman with monkeyuncle.com.